everyone, and welcome to the Farmers Supply Association Agri Report. I'm Randy Klepechka, agronomist with Farmers Supply Association. We're taping on June 13th, and we're taping inside, as you can see, and guess why? I mean, if you've been around the last couple of months, you know why we're taping inside. The pattern continues. We thought maybe it'd be over by now, but it continues. I try to keep up with weather at my house. This is in Jonesboro, but it's going to be similar numbers, 50 miles away. So from March 29th to today, June 13th, we've had 37 days with at least some rainfall. You can say it rained on those days. It may not have been much. Some of them it was a lot, but some of them maybe just a few drops. But count them all, 37 days with some rainfall. The total amount I've got there at my house is 28 inches. We're taping again in Newport today, and if you've been in Newport around the lunch hour, we've had some torrential downpours, 3 or 4 already today. So, if they get those, if they slide over to Jonesboro and we'll get them over there, we're probably going to be more than 28 inches. We may be 29 or 30 inches in those 37 days. So, again, just an extremely wet period that will not go away. Talking about the crops, it's estimated that probably about 30 to 40% of the rice did not get planted this year. And it looks like a significant soybean acreage is going to go the same route. I never would have thought that it was going to get both crops. I knew, with the rice, with the weather we had, certainly the heavy rain in early April and going, through May, but never thought it'd do the same thing for soybeans. But certainly we're there now. Soybean acres are going to be down. And I've seen soybeans planted all the way until July before, but the yield potential goes way down. And certainly over the last 10 to 20 years, we've learned how much that early planting means to soybean yields. So we're certainly going to lose a lot of that, along with a lot of the acreage. When I talk to people the last few weeks, I jokingly say that the book has been thrown out. You can't always do things the way you want to, the way you need to, the way you're supposed to, and that's certainly one of those years that we're dealing with right now. I personally have made a lot of calls to university specialists, retired university specialists that I used to work with, company reps, all those kind of people, because we're encountering so many things that we've never seen before or maybe haven't seen very often, and we're uncomfortable in answering, or we've never dealt with it, so we're kind of uncomfortable in answering, don't know what to say, so we'll get a lot of input from those people. Certainly in agriculture, I'm very grateful, and I think most people in my situation, including the farmers, would be very grateful for the network of help that we have. There's university people, the company people, all those people can really help you, can answer your questions when you encounter something that you're not sure of or haven't seen before. So I'm certainly grateful for that. And we've kind of gotten through to this point, with a lot of that help. So it's kind of where we're at right now. Again, a lot of unusual stuff. I just want to go through some of the questions that I've had, over the last couple of months or so. And while some of these are not just totally uncommon, they're less common, things they're certainly more common this year than they are in other years. So just some things that I've been getting questions on, dealing with a little bit. Just kind of want to go over some of those, just kind of let you know some of the things that that I've been dealing with and working with the farmers. Of course, number one, just planting, and planting dates in particular. I started getting calls probably in early May about rice planting dates. People thinking about, well, when do we recommend stopping planting rice? When do we recommend changing varieties? Because we know that certain varieties do better with late planting. So I've been getting those questions in regard to rice, and certainly we've been dealing with those quite a bit. When we got into May, I said, well, we can switch varieties and towards late May go to a hybrid or something like that. Well, officially, my recommendations ended on June 12th. With this rain we got just on June 12th last night, well, I think it's over now. I'm not saying there might not be one or two plant a field of rice now and then, but I think officially in my books, rice planting is over with the rain that we got last night and then today so far. So I think that question should be over as far as especially rice goes. Another question I've been getting a little more than normal this year is, should I till the ground? Should I use a burn down herbicide? Should I use a combination of the two? And the reason we're getting that so much is, normally in years we can either work the ground or put some herbicides out, in between, spring and then planting time. And this year it's just been so wet. The weather has not allowed us to do any tillage really to speak of, even to get herbicides out in a lot of cases. So guys are getting overgrown, and they say, well, is it better to till that ground, or is it better to spray that ground, or is it better to do both of them? So I've been getting that question a lot. If you go the tillage route, there's a couple things that can happen. One, you may not get good enough tillage, and a lot of times I see that. It'll look like it's worked up, but a lot of those weeds will still be rooted, and not totally worked up. And just as soon as they get a shower, don't even have to have a shower if they're not totally uprooted. They'll just start growing again. So that can be an issue. And the other issue is kind of on the other side there. If you do till it and it doesn't rain, well, you're going to dry out and you won't have the moisture to plant. So those are the issues with tillage if you go that route. The other side of the coin there, if I do apply a burn down herbicide, am I going to kill it that way? We still ultimately got to kill those weeds that are out there that we're trying to get rid of. So, most of these weeds, if you look at the herbicide chart, most of them don't have a 10 rating. They may be an 8 or 9 on a lot of cases. So they're not going to totally kill those weeds that are out there. So if they don't, that can be an issue too. So just some tough situations out there where the weeds have gotten big, some combinations that are really hard to come up with a recommendation for. So I've been dealing with that, especially the last couple of weeks or so a lot. So again, they're just a case-by-case situation depending on how good a tillage you can get, what weeds they are, and will I get good herbicide activity out of them. Another thing that I've dealt with this year, and rice farmers have dealt with, is nitrogen fertilization. We like, starting about the 4 to 5 leaf stage, early tillering, we like to get that big slug of nitrogen out there on dry ground. Get it incorporated as quickly as we can. That protects it, and we're really in good shape as far as nitrogen fertilization, because if you do that, you're going to get good efficiency out of that nitrogen all the way to mid-season and get really good results from it. Well, this year, obviously with the rains, we haven't dried out in a lot of cases. Now, I'll say this, we've gotten some pretty good situations, and we've gotten close to dry and got some fertilizer out, but it seems like every field that I look at when I get to these questions, there might be a wet spot here or there. It's just not perfect conditions. It ends up being pretty good, but it's not perfect conditions. So, I think if we start seeing some yellow spots in rice fields showing up, splotches here and there, let's think if that spot may have been a little bit wet when I fertilized and I didn't get efficiency. So that's if we start seeing some yellow spots in fields, think about that first, because that may have been what happened. We just didn't get efficient use of that nitrogen fertilizer, and may need to supplement it in some cases, but hopefully we got most of it out on dry ground. I think we did better than maybe the situation called for. So hopefully we'll have good efficiency of that nitrogen. Another kind of weird thing is we've had some rice, planted, get emerged, and the levees not put up out there. And because it got wet after planting, never could get the levees up, gone weeks in some cases without the levees up. So the rice in the paddy is usually, tillered out, maybe well tillered out, and then you'll have late rice on the levees, and it may just be coming up, maybe spiking or something like that. And we've got some herbicide situations that can be, that can be a problem in that situation. We like to obviously spray the whole field, but there's some of these herbicides that are tough on like spiking rice and things like that. So it may be difficult, if not impossible, to spray the whole field because we've got those areas of those small spiking rice on the levees. And some of these herbicides can really do a number on spiking rice. So we have to be careful about our herbicide recommendations, and sometimes we have to wait longer than we want because we're trying to save the levees. So that's been a little more common than normal this year. Just be aware of the herbicide you're going to use. Some of them are very tough, can be deadly on spiking rice, and some of them the spiking rice will tolerate a little better. So let's really think about that when we make or apply herbicides and make recommendations. Another thing is herbicide antagonism. We see that a lot when we're mixing grass herbicides, like Rice Star, Clincher, Regiment, some things like that, mixing those with some sedge and broadleaf herbicides. So getting more calls on that this year because of some of the situations we're in. So Make sure that you read up on or call me or call company rep, whoever, that make sure that some of these mixes that we're doing don't cause herbicide antagonism, because what happens is the grass herbicide won't work as well, and we need to get good grass control, and economically. So let's make sure we make good mixes and don't mix things together that can really hurt the rice. Going back to some of these crop differences that I'm talking about, Monday I got some rice that I look at fairly regularly. Monday I had a field that I called as emergence on that date. So again, June 3rd, or at June 3rd, I was calling that as emerged. And also on Monday, I saw my first green ring. So that was some rice that was planted like on March 21st, and it was green ring already. So just an example of how diverse this crop is. With the same day, we've got rice, at green ring, and we've got rice that I'm calling emergence date on. Of course, that was actually June 9th, not June the 3rd, as I said earlier. But just an example of the diversity of this year's crop. A couple of things I want to close up with. These are thoughts for next year, stuff I'm seeing in the field right now that are thoughts for next year. One, let's try to meet with our neighbors, try to talk to our neighbors about adjoining crops, because I'm seeing some real issues with people trying to get herbicides out, and the adjacent field of a neighbor just will not allow that, because the herbicide would damage their crop or kill their crop. So let's try to talk to our neighbors. So I know sometimes you may not even know your neighbors, but let's try to talk to them and see what they're growing and tell them what you're growing, and maybe kind of work together to, we may have to change, the herbicide trait we're using in some situations because of this. But let's try to work together. I've got a couple of fields where, the guy literally has not been able to spray the herbicide he needs to all season, and he just went to flood last week because he gave up. And he's going to have some issues with red rice and maybe some other things out there that maybe could have been avoided if he would have, talked to his neighbor. They would have talked to each other and kind of worked things out in the beginning. I know it's hard to do sometimes, because you've got to grow what you've got to grow, but if we can work together and eliminate just some of those cases, I think it would be beneficial. One more thing that's kind of related to this year, that's managing the soil seed bank during this off season. We've got a lot of layout ground out there this summer. Let's try if at all possible, to avoid letting that stuff go to seed, especially stuff like barnyard grass, pigweed, some of those really bad weeds that can cause a lot of problems. Let's try to, whether it's tillage, herbicides, whatever we need to do to eliminate anything from going to seed, because I'm telling you, I never used to think the soil seed bank maybe was quite as bad as it is, but I've got some fields this year that are literally going to grow up probably in barnyard grass. Not many, maybe 2 or 3, and it's because a lot of weeds have gone to seed. In the years previous to that, and just got such a heavy soil seed bank that even if herbicide is giving you 90% control, maybe 95% control, if you've got that soil seed bank that is so overwhelming, even that kind of control is not enough. So let's not have a summer where all these these layout fields have weeds out there going to seed. Do what it takes to eliminate any of that from going to seed if possible, and it'll sure help you in the long run in the future, economically and just every way possible, if you'll eliminate that weed, that seed from going to the soil seed bank for the future. So a lot of things going on. It's been an odd year, not been a good year at all, but hopefully we can survive it and end up with a pretty decent crop where we do have crops and survive to make another year in 2026. This has been Randy Klepetska with your Farmers Supply Association Agri Report.